Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show and happy Friday. Okay, can I just tell you something before we get started? You know what I did this morning? I did the best thing, the best thing. It was a talent show at our daughter's middle school. She's finishing 8th grade. And so it was all the girls in this middle school doing their thing. I am such a sucker for this stuff. Guys, I cried like 5 times. I just, like not like the ugly cry, but cried. I mean, like actual tears. Over what? Kids I do not know, like some random child getting up there and singing. Some amazing, some not that amazing. Didn't matter. Just the risk of it, just these little girls getting up there and like standing alone in front of a microphone, looking out at a full audience and singing. That takes guts. That's ballsy. And then other girls do. It was like everything from like one girl did the Irish, step dancing. That was great. And another girl played the violin. Another girl, she was a sleeper candidate, came out there with a guitar. She played the first couple of chords. I was like, okay, let's see if she can play. And then she started singing. She was a voice of an angel. It was like brought down the house. My daughter and her dear friend have done the same thing, I think, all 4 years of middle school. In our town, it goes 5th through 8th, where they put on an enormous animal costume and do a dance together. Like last year, I think they were a horse, and this year, I don't know what the costume was this year. Was it a dog? It was unidentifiable. So all of it just makes me cry because it's like risk-taking, a moment in the spotlight. And here's the other thing I loved about it. I loved that these girls, how we talk about mean girls, and that's a thing. That's for sure. That's a thing. Well, here's the great thing about girls that you probably aren't going to see at the all-boys assembly. All of them, like with their arms up for the listening audience, I'm waving like hands left to right, and with every girl singing, with every girl's piano solo, the whole auditorium, and like shouting out the girls, like total support, solidarity, sisterhood, not a hint of mean girl action, not a hint of it, just total support and like clicks for their fellow middle schoolers. It was so uplifting. I don't know how they managed to make middle school pleasant, but they did. My daughter had a great time in it. I watched it happen with her and her friends, and congrats to all these girls who are trying to do middle school in a different way, and to these girls who got up on stage today and sat in the front row of their life. Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay. We, right here, have a great show lined up for you. It's not going to have Irish step dancing, but it is going to have Link Lauren, which is, almost as good. He's the latest member of our MK Media team, and his podcast launches on Monday. He's a former senior advisor to RFKJ, which is perfect because there is so much MAHA drama happening right now, and Link is ready to spill the tea, as they say. There's plenty to get to, including the continued media storm around the nomination of Casey Means to Surgeon General, but it kind of goes beyond that. And there's new reporting today on the relationship between 73-year-old Bill Belichick and 24-year-old Jordan Hudson. Is she banned from the University of North Carolina? Link is going to tell us why he's Team Jordan. What? He is the host of the new podcast, Spot On, with Link Lauren. It launches Monday. Here's a preview. Take a look.
It's 2025. The Democrats are in free fall, stumping for gang members in men and women's sports. Disney is tanking. Dylan Mulvaney's writing memoirs. It's a crazy world we're living in. My name is Link Lauren, and I'm here to guide you through it all. But make no mistake, this is not a safe space.
And if Kamala Harris, if it were her cocaine, she probably would have been a lot more productive as a vice president. They didn't think it was a threat to democracy having a brain-dead president, Joe Biden, for the last 4 years. I'm tired of people just giving James Carville his flowers because he's our elder. I'm not going to just respect my elders. He is a swamp creature.
My new show, Spot On with Link Lauren, officially launches Monday, May 12th with MK Media. I'm a content creator and political commentator who built trust with my audience by calling it like I see it. That's not changing. You might know me from TikTok, TV, the Kennedy campaign, and some of you might not know me at all. With Spot On, we're going to dive into the swampy waters of Washington, D.C., the woke cesspool of Hollywood, and everything in between. Let the games begin on Monday, May 12th. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
I love this guy, whoever the hell that is.
Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. You know how much my family and I love our dogs. Yes, even Strudwick. He's gotten so sweet and even a little good. Cannot imagine life without them. They have a great life, but some dogs are not so lucky. And this is why I'm so glad to tell you about Delta Rescue. It's the largest no-kill, care-for-life animal sanctuary in the world. They have rescued thousands of dogs, plus cats and horses too. They provide all the animals with shelter and safety and most of all, love. And they've been doing it for more than 45 years now. Delta Rescue relies solely on contributions to stay open, and giving can bring tax benefits too. Speak to your estate planner about how you can grow your estate while helping animals in need. And check out the estate planning tab on their website to learn more. We love our Thunder and Strudwick, but would like other dogs who need love to find it too. Visit deltarescue.org today to learn more. That's deltarescue.org. It's a great promo. Link, welcome. Everybody go subscribe and follow now so you don't miss the premiere episode. It's called Spot On with Link.com. You can go there. And any podcast feed, you can find Spot On with Link. You've got to go subscribe, follow, and enjoy as the first episode hits on Monday. Great to see you. Are you excited?
I am so excited. I'm not even going to pretend like I've been here before. I am so excited, Megyn. I'm so grateful to you. I told you this privately. I have no shame in saying this. For years, one of my top career goals was just to even come on the Megyn Kelly Show. I was like, if Megyn would know that I exist someday, I want to go on Megyn and I want to go on Bill Maher. Those are my two goals. So for years, I would hit you guys up. I'd ask people if they knew who booked your show. Maybe I could get on Megyn Kelly. So for now, to have this deal and to have your blessing, it's like such a God is good, surreal moment. And it's also just a full circle moment for my audience too, because I don't say this with hubris or anything. I know I've worked to earn every single viewer that I have. I've turned out thousands of viewers, stay up late filming, editing, giving up time with family just to churn out those videos for them. And so for you giving me a seat at the table, I feel like I've left the side door open for them to come in with me. And I'm just a conduit for what they're interested in and their issues. So we're all so grateful to Megyn and her entire team. So thank you. Seriously.
I'm having a Meghan Markle moment. Like I have people on the podcast who are just going to say nice things about me. I swear that's not what's happening here.
No, I know you hate that. I know you hate that, but I have to.
Thank you for that. Honestly, we're lucky to have you. You're a total rising star. And in a year, everybody's going to be like, oh my God, why didn't we try harder to get Link? And I'm going to look at them all and say, too bad and too late. It was very obvious the first time we saw you that you're a special talent and you have a special way of communicating. Not everybody has it. There's a special ingredient list that goes into really connecting with an audience. And even people who I really respect and who are very charming to me personally, don't always have the right combo, at least in my eyes, to really succeed as an independent host in a podcast. And you've got those qualities in spades. Link, Lauren can't wait to watch your numbers go through the roof. Okay, let's get right to it.
First episode. Yes, let's get in. And you have
a great guest who is Callie Means. Hello, talk about perfect timing. But before we show a clip from Callie Means, let's talk about Callie Means. Callie Means is the brother of Casey Means. Casey Means is now our nominee for Surgeon General. The other woman, Janet Neshawat, has been turfed. She's going to take some random job within HHS. My information is it was an RFKJ move all the way. He didn't know or want Janet Neshawat. He knew and wanted Casey Means. That makes perfect sense to me because Casey's integral to the whole MAHA movement. And with all due respect to Janet, she wasn't. She's not really even a part of it. So, of course, he would want one of his main gurus, lieutenants, I think she's both to him, right at the helm of his own messaging on health. But, my God, this is the MAHA people they love drama. They're very dramatic, Link. Yeah, I love them, but this is a lot of drama over the Surgeon General pick. Okay, I love Casey, but we're treating this like it's the National Security Advisor or the Secretary of State. Okay, so what the hell is happening? Give us your 30,000-foot view. You worked for RFKJ, so you know this world and these people very well. On what's happening here?
I know way too much. One thing about me is I am known for having no drama, not in a Switzerland way. I never bring drama online. I'm very diplomatic. It's my people in politics know they can trust me. I have seen some things I will never say. I can say with unequivocal certainty, I support Casey Means as Surgeon General, and I would request that anybody who is contesting Casey, can you name any other Surgeon General, right? All these people online who are upset, is Surgeon General some big role that we have followed? No, the fact that we're even talking about it now is a huge win. And I don't say this because I sat down with Callie Means. We taped our interview last week before all of this, but Casey and Callie are some of the most effective surrogates for the MAHA movement, right? They have been talking about ultra-processed foods and food dyes and getting chemicals out of our water for years, far before it was popular in the mainstream. And so I think a lot of these MAHA folks need to remember a year ago, you couldn't even get the mainstream media to cover these issues. So the fact that they're talking about them now, look how far we've come. And also there's this narrative that Casey and Callie Means they must be Manchurian candidates because they're so skilled on air. They're just so talented and polished. That's who you want in the Trump administration. Howard Lutnick said during the transition when they were nominating people, they would put clips of Scott Bessent up on the screen, Pam Bondi speaking, and that's how they would decide who to put in the cabinet. They wanted folks who could be effective surrogates, so wouldn't you put Casey in that role? The next thing I'll say is this. From a political calculus standpoint, I think Casey is a genius move. I know Trump is already thinking about the midterms. He's doing tons of MAGA Inc. fundraisers. He's gone to Virginia several times to do fundraisers. Everybody's thinking about the midterms and what could happen. We have Bobby in there, who's a huge MAHA voice. But to grow the MAHA MAGA coalition, elevating a strong woman's voice like Casey, who's effective on air and on camera, is such a smart move moving forward. And that's why I support it.
Totally. I agree with you on all fronts. But man, oh man, are they trying to take her down. It is the weirdest collective hit. Now, listen, without casting these aspersions on any individual, I will say there's no question in my mind that Big Pharma doesn't want her and Big Ag probably doesn't want her. And so she's going to have some very powerful enemies. And we saw this, again, I'm not talking about any individual person, but I guarantee you some collection of the attacks on her that we're seeing on X are bought and paid for. Because we saw this. Remember when they were pushing to not have SNAP benefits include the ability to buy like Coca-Cola, and then it came out that some of these people who are going to be hurt by these revisions were trying to pay, like the lobbyists for these groups were trying to pay random influencers to be like, oh, this is big daddy legislation, conservatives, to try to speak to conservatives to try to turn the MAGA group against this reform. And there's no question they're not going to lie down and let somebody like Casey Means become the messenger. They already have to deal with RFKJ. They're pissed off enough about that.
Right.
So these are very deep-pocketed people, and I'm sure there's some online right now who are being paid by them. I'd love to find out for sure. And then there are others who have legitimate, honest, questions about Casey, and that's fine. That's politics. Hello. But here's an example of some of the stuff we're hearing. So Callie Means versus Nicole Shanahan. We didn't get to this yesterday. Nicole Shanahan, RFKJ's running mate, can't stand Callie and Casey. I didn't know this, but she came out. I don't have the tweet in front of me, but man, did she lay into them. She called them like Manchurian assets and said, I was promised that if I supported RFKJ in his Senate confirmation for the HHS role, that these two wouldn't come anywhere near HHS or government. So did Bobby lie to me or what? Because they, to me, are so weird and aggressive. This is Nicole Shanahan, that they seem like Manchurian assets. Now, Brett Baer asked Bobby Kennedy about that. He had like a health panel of the top health officials last night. And here's what happened.
She was the very top of her medical class at Stanford. She's during her residency, she won every award that she could win. She walked away from traditional medicine because she was not curing patients. She couldn't get anybody within her profession to look at the nutrition contributions to illness. And she said, if we're really going to heal people, if we're healers, we can't just be making our life about building new procedures. We actually have to figure out new approaches to medicine.
Your former running mate weighed in today saying that she wasn't happy about this and said that you're somehow being controlled. Your decisions are being controlled. That's what she posted.
Listen, you guys sitting here, 4 people who were all canceled during COVID.
Yeah, right.
Of these people are, you've got the entire leadership of this agency is renegades who are juggernauts against convention and who are trying to look for truth no matter what the cost.
So nobody's controlling your
Casey
decision.
is among those.
So it's interesting. He didn't take on, is somebody controlling me? But he's basically saying everybody up here is a renegade and kind of uncontrollable. For the record, he was with Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who was canceled during COVID, Dr. Marty Makary of Johns Hopkins, who now runs FDA, and Dr. Mehmet Oz, who's going to be overseeing Medicare, and of course RFK. Go ahead, Link, your thoughts.
Well, I can tell you he certainly cannot be bought or controlled. Bobby would probably be much wealthier if he could be. And as for Nicole Shanahan, I'm going to say something that I know she would agree with, Bobby would agree with. They keep saying Bobby's running mate says this. RFK's running mate, Nicole Shanahan, says this. This isn't a Trump-Vance situation where they were out campaigning together and making tons of decisions together. Besides our March 26th announcement in Oakland at the Henry J. Kaiser Center, which several of us helped to plan, I think Bobby and Nicole were in the same room together twice. I think they saw each other again in person 2 times, maybe. So these journalists who are writing like Nicole is some close advisor and ally of Bobby who's turned around and shanked him, that's just not the case. Bobby's career went on. He got the nomination to HHS. He's been killing it at HHS and accomplishing more in the first 100 days than I think any of us ever expected. So this narrative that, his close ally and friend in Nicole has turned on him is just anathema to reality.
Okay, but she doesn't seem to be in his camp anymore. I mean, that tweet, my team just sent it to me. She writes, this is what she wrote when the Casey Means news broke late on 5/7, so 2 days ago. This doesn't make any sense. I was promised that if I supported him in his Senate confirmation, neither of these siblings would be working under HHS or in an appointment, and that people much more qualified would be. I don't know if RFK very clearly lied to me or what's going on. It's been clear in recent conversations that he is reporting to someone regularly who is controlling his decisions, and it isn't President Trump. Then she says the part about the siblings being artificial and aggressive and Manchurian. So she's turned on him. There's no question in my mind reading that tweet. There's no love lost between these two.
My point I'm making is that
why.
it's not a turn on him situation. I don't think they were super simpatico 12 months ago. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's not, they're painting this narrative that, his close ally, they've turned on each other. This is the MAHA civil war. She's been doing her own thing since kind of the start of the campaign when she joined us in Oakland. Like I said, they only appeared together, I believe, twice for events. So Bobby's been doing his own thing. And like I said, he's the one with the pedigree. He is the face of MAHA. He's the head of MAHA. Casey and Callie have been instrumental to MAHA. Like I said, they were MAHA before that was even coined as a term. And I'm not knocking Nicole whatsoever, but it is convenient that she has a new contract with The Blaze and her new show she's promoting. And now she's generating tons of media and press off of this when she kind of hasn't had anything to do with HHS since January 20th at the inauguration.
Here she is, speaking of her show on The Blaze. She gave an interview to Glenn Beck yesterday following up on this tweet, and here's what she said.
MAHA has, any movement, MAGA had this issue too, of infiltration by different groups that are more self-serving than they are for the movement itself. And so just one example, Casey Means is a founder of a company that does biometric harvesting. She's very close with many of the big data biometric harvesting companies in Silicon Valley. And this, I know several of these people. You do not want them running in a government position that is responsible for everybody equally. Our job is to continue to seek the best possible people for government that are truly putting the principles of this country first, the principles of American sovereignty first.
Thoughts on that?
So I want to tell you what I told Nicole last year. Nicole ended up buying a house 5 minutes from me, 5 minutes from where I sit right now. We went to dinner a few times. We've hung out a few times. She was very open about her miscarriage. I remember being at the house and her telling me she was pregnant with her partner, Jacob. It was a beautiful moment. But for Nicole, I told her last year, if you are passionate about staffing or certain people you want in the administration, call Trump's scheduler and set up a lunch or a meeting. Fly to Mar-a-Lago and go have dinner with him on the patio and say, here are some names I think you should consider. Even right now, if she's upset, it's fine that she's at home tweeting. I'm happy she has a strong Wi-Fi connection. Set up a dinner. Trump will meet with you. President Trump is the most accessible president. He wants to hear from a wide range of people and make decisions that way. So if Nicole is so passionate and worried about these things, sitting at home tweeting isn't going to change it. Hop on a flight. I told her that last year, last fall. Go talk to President Trump. Go talk to Susie Wiles. Go talk to Sergio Gore, who's in charge of personnel. But it's easy to sit at home and tweet. It's a lot harder to get in the arena and actually make change. It's easier to sit at home and write checks than to get in there and do it. I have not seen her get on a plane and go see President Trump, and it's now been 12 months. So I thought it was good advice.
I mean, I think
he would so meet with her.
her.
He would so meet with her. I told her that during the nominations. I said, if you want to be part of this administration, the train's moving along without you. You probably aren't going to be part of it if you don't go set up lunch at Mar-a-Lago, go meet with them. Say every other business leader and wealthy person was flying to Mar-a-Lago after November 5th. Heads of state were flying to Mar-a-Lago. I know people might not remember. Zuckerberg was flying to Mar-a-Lago. I told Nicole, the train's going to leave you behind. Hop on a plane. Hop on a plane and go see the guy and plead your case of who you want. That has yet to happen. So
well, here's the thing. So you're right. Bobby Kennedy is at the heart of MAHA. I mean, he's been living MAHA for decades without it having that name. And that's the whole reason he threw his hat into the presidential ring. Not the whole reason. He's got a lot of issues with how government is being run. Things like the, military industrial complex too bother him. He's got a lot of great issues that resonate. But this is at the core of how he's lived his life as an environmental lawyer. But what happened with MAHA, I mean, to my memory, I'm sure people will correct me, but what happened with MAHA was Bobby was running his race. Then he got kicked out of the Democratic Party, and he obviously wasn't going to win that nomination. And there was a question about whether he was going to endorse Kamala or Trump. And the Kamala team turned their back on him. They were so stupid and short-sighted, they wouldn't even talk to him. But he has this huge contingent of people who really connected with him. Right. And Trump was like, yes, I will talk to you. So that happened. And at the same time, Tucker had on Casey and Callie Means together. And it was an episode that went totally viral. She's sold 1.5 million copies of this book, which is huge. She wrote it, but with Callie's help. And he's a similar crusader in that he worked for Coca-Cola, and then he kind of became like a whistleblower on how these industries corrupt us. And they worked together to get RFKJ to endorse Trump, and Tucker was part of it. And the next thing we knew, he did. That partnership was born. And when they did that dual announcement, refresh my memory if I'm wrong, Link, but that's where they coined the phrase, make America healthy again. Yes. When their partnership, Trump and Kennedy came together, and the Means were in on it. And so, they're right at the center of MAHA. They're not satellite to it. They're not Johnny-come-latelys to it. They've been pushing this from long before Tucker found them. That's, all these years of experiences are in Good Energy, the book. So it makes perfect sense to me why Bobby Kennedy would trust them and say, this is the person to be the spokesman for what we're doing.
Absolutely. I think MAHA was coined at the arena in Glendale back in August of 2024. I mean, one of the most iconic political moments in history. And shout out to President Trump's team for putting that together with the fire and the pyrotechnics and the Foo Fighters music. I mean, that is going to go down in history. I love production value. Trump is the consummate producer. But yeah, this MAHA civil war to me is just so silly because we all want the same things. We want healthy kids. We want chemicals out of our food. We want people eating less ultra processed foods. We all want the same things. So stop tweeting. Pick up the phone and call each other, you adults. Hop on planes and go have meetings with each other. Why have I been saying this now for over a year? But yeah, no, Callie has been at the forefront, and Casey as well, of MAHA. I spoke to Callie about this when I interviewed him before we went on air. I said, you and I go back to way before MAHA days. We were in group text and on emails during the campaign when he was advising our campaign. Well before Make America Healthy Again was coined, trademarked, copyrighted. all of that. So to say that they should not be a part of the administration as conduits for MAHA, I think is just really silly. And this isn't a knock to Nicole. Nicole and I forged a friendship. I like Nicole. I am much closer to Bobby. I spoke to him a few weeks ago about family and some other things. I'm close with some of his kids. Just got dinner with one of his kids a few weeks ago as well. I love Bobby. He changed my life working on that campaign. I don't think people understand. I was making videos about the campaign and their head of telefundraising called and said, do you want to come out to the house on June 23rd in LA and meet Bobby? I said, I'm going to be in LA. I wasn't, I lied. So no, they really changed my entire life. And for that reason, I have nothing but kind words to say. And there's no one else who could be in Bobby's position or Casey's and Callie's and take the hits and keep going because they're so strong in their convictions. You'd be hard pressed to find someone.
That's how Doug Brunt, my husband, met me too. We were set up on a blind date. And when we had our first call about like whether we'd go out or we'd meet for a drink, he was living in New York and I was living in DC. And he said, oh, I'm going to be in DC, next weekend or 2 weekends. And of course, that was all a lie. He just came down to see me and it worked out.
No, this is my advice to all young people. This is what I tell young people all the time. Show up. I don't care if you have to fly in the back of economy, if you have to stay in a crappy hotel. If there's a potential for a job or to level up in your career, show up. I said, of course I'm going to be in LA on that date. They gave me an address. I Ubered over to the house. Security patted me down. They introduced me to Bobby. He gave me a cell number and said, my social media is effed. We need help with our social media. And I started texting him, every couple days with ideas. I put together little strategy memos. I would just email unsolicited. And finally, his daughter-in-law called and said, well, I guess we should hire you to work on the campaign. And the rest is history. So show up, people. Show up, young people.
I couldn't agree more with that. You either have that attitude or you don't. Like I'm now been at this job for, I don't know how, I've been in the professional working arena for longer than I care to say. Actually, if I start doing the math, I can count on like 2 fingers, Link, the number of times I have not gone to work. Like I literally have to be actively in the middle of vomiting to not show up. It's just who I am. Like I will crawl over hot coals to get to do my job because I just feel like that's the commitment that I've made. And by the way, even that presidential debate where Donald Trump and I tussled, I'd been violently vomiting all day long. Like I mean it. Like, which is why, this is probably not great for me as a boss, but I don't have such an employee right now, just for the record. But like, if I had somebody who was like constantly calling out sick or like, oh, I can't be there, or don't know, I can't make it, I'd get rid of them. It's like, I'm sorry, but like either you have this crusher work ethic or you don't. And I'm not in a job where that can even be abused. Journalism, it's not like law where, I'll take all 24 of your hours, all of them. This is like, at worst, you're going to be giving like 9 hours. Like, shut up and do it. Sorry, that's how I feel.
Well, that's what happened with the White House, too. I said, I don't have a press pass. I don't know if I can get in. And my friends at the White House, they said, just show up. Showing up is half the job. I showed up, had no idea what was going to happen that day. I said, do you think there's a chance I could be included in this event? Let me see. Yeah, you can be included. Then I got to talk to President Trump and ask him a question. That's where the magic happens. Show up and go on that blind faith and work your ass off. All the young people listening and all the moms, tell your kids, okay? Show up.
Yes. Wait, so that's the one where he was like, I don't know, who the hell is this guy, but I love him.
Yes, exactly. There was a really small group that was going to be covering that NASCAR event. And I went in and I said, I have no idea what the difference is between this pool and this press pool or the swimming pool. But if you guys would include me, I would be honored to be included. I'm so grateful. It's an auspicious place. I don't take it for granted being here. The woman in the office said, let me go check. She comes back and says, yeah, you can come and be included in that event. So there are probably 6 or 7 of us, and President Trump came walking out, and he kept looking at me. I think President Trump thought I was going to be some super liberal he was going to spar with. He was sort of looking at me going, oh, I'm going to eat this guy alive. And then he ended up liking me and said, I love this guy. Who the hell are you? And so that is where the magic happens. Show up, people. Even if you're not actually going to be there, lie.
Before he knows your name very, very well. So let's talk about you a little bit.
I think he does now.
I want to hear more about how Link Lauren came into this world and was raised, and how you got to be a conservative. So talk to us about your background.
So it's interesting. I think people have this narrative that I was somehow super liberal and then I switched over the last few years and made a hard right turn. That's really not the case. I grew up in Dallas, Texas. I went to an all-boys school where we wore uniforms. It was a very conservative environment. But growing up, I was always super involved in politics, right? From the time I was 14, I would put together these town halls with kids from different schools in our area. And we would talk about hot button issues, gender, race, news items that were going on. And I'd get a chaperone, I'd get pizza, I'd collect money money for the pizza, and kids would come once a month and we would discuss these issues. From there, I got invited to go to all these leadership conferences in high school. I got to go to DC and speak on Capitol Hill to advocate for some of the issues in my hometown, kids who weren't getting accommodations they were promised. Because any parent out there who has a kid with special needs or learning disabilities, the public schools might not have the resources. The private schools, they aren't obligated to help you in any way. So I was in DC advocating for that as a teenager. And then I decided, for some dumb reason, to go to NYU. So wow. I wanted to move to New York because there weren't a lot of people like me. I knew one other gay person. I just wanted to go to New York, and I loved New York and grew up watching any shows I could about New York. So I went to NYU, and it was a super liberal environment. Like, the teachers are wearing Birkenstocks with rainbow leggings, utter calamity,
just
disaster.
So people know, Barron Trump is going through this same experience right now. Keep going.
Yes. One of my biggest videos, part of the reason some of the Trump people started following me, I did a video last year on Barron going to NYU and some advice I had for him, and it went bonkers. So I pray for Barron every single day at NYU, but I think he's a pretty strong kid. So yes. NYU, I worked all through there. I was an assistant to someone in the music industry, and he would have like Bon Jovi come over for dinner. I remember Valerie from Ashford and Simpson came over and would play piano and sing. And so I was always working as an assistant, fetching coffee, making copies, then going to class during the day. And then COVID hit. And my degree was useless. I studied music business, entertainment. I studied a little bit of entertainment law. And there was no entertainment industry, really, during COVID. The music industry was dead. And a lot of my friends had sort of moved home. They had fallen into bad habits. And there was this app called TikTok. So I was not going to do those silly dances on TikTok. That would be social suicide. I decided to start posting about politics and news, and I did that. And then in May of 2023 is when my video started to take off. In June of 2023, the Kennedy campaign said, we see these videos you're doing on the campaign. How can we get a list of the people who are commenting? I said, there's no way to export a list of these people who are commenting, because young people were saying, who the heck is this RFK guy? Is he JFK Jr.? Who is this? They didn't really know. And the campaign said, we want to capitalize on that. And I said, well, why don't I film something with Bobby and do a whole thing on him? And that, the rest is sort of history.
Wow. So you lean more right because you grew up in Texas, and are your parents conservative? How did your politics get formed?
So my mom says she's an independent, which is code for she loves Trump. But my dad is conservative. My brother drives a big pickup truck and handles heavy machinery. And he's always now that I travel and I go to these events with hot conservative women, my brother's always like, got any babes? You set me up, hook your brother up, tell him your brother with the truck wants a date. I did go probably a little more left when I went to NYU because it's all being shoved down your throat. And there wasn't a ton of alternative media. The podcast space wasn't really popping off at that time. Megyn, you didn't even have your podcast yet. You weren't in the independent space. Tucker wasn't in the independent space. And so I was basically consuming mainstream news, and my classmates at NYU said, Trump is the boogeyman. Trump's going to destroy democracy. Hillary was robbed. They're still crying over that night at the Javits Center. And I just started looking around going, I don't know, this really isn't me. And then when my TikTok took off, I paid for myself. I flew to Iowa, I got on a bus, and I went to all of these primary events. And that's how I connected with the Ramaswamy campaign. I would show up at events, and I remember asking, if Nikki Haley had 60 seconds to film a video with me. She said, no, I would never film a TikTok. I remember waiting out in the hot sun at the Reagan Library for hours to film something with Pence because I was trying to get all the primary candidates. Pence did not want to film with me, even though I submitted questions ahead of time, and they were softballs. And so I would just show up at events on my own dime, hoping to film a TikTok video. And at the time, Trump wasn't on TikTok. They were like, this is the CCP. We're not going to film with you. And I would kind of just be shut out of events. And so when people say now I'm gushing over Caroline Leavitt at the White House, I'm not gushing over anyone. I'm just so grateful that new media is included at the White House, because you guys don't know what it was like for me traveling through Iowa and New Hampshire and being shut out by comms directors and press secretaries who wouldn't let me film 60 seconds. I was doing millions of views a week on TikTok. Maybe you guys should have tried to reach my young people, Nikki Haley and Mike Pence. And so that's why I'm so grateful for new media at the White House. I'm not sycophantic. I really am that grateful to be there. I'm happy to be there.
No, it's so stupid and short-sighted not to take advantage of this person who has a big presence on a very relevant, yes, controversial, but very relevant app where millions of young Americans go religiously every day, multiple times a day. I mean, multiple times a day. So it's so short-sighted of them.
In the month of May, when I really popped off was May of 2023. I did 32 million views on TikTok alone. That's over 1 million views a day. My videos were going crazy because I was the only one with really my perspective. Nobody who looked like me had my perspective. I was talking about men and women's sports, the immigration crisis, East Palestine, Ohio, all of these things, the train derailment. Nobody who looked like me was giving this perspective on TikTok. So my page was going crazy. And I couldn't understand why folks like Pence and Haley and other primary candidates I won't name wouldn't even give me 30 seconds. And I film with my phone. I pull out and ask them a fun, silly question. For me, it's just getting them in front of my audience. A lot of my audience didn't know who Nikki Haley was. So I couldn't understand them shutting me out when I'm doing more views a day, huge views in the target demo that all these shows want. I am doing about 1 million views a day in the target demo, and you guys don't have 30 seconds from me. And, I wish them well now. I think I'm doing okay. Yeah.
This is how I feel about TMZ. TMZ will catch up with me at random wherever, sometimes where I am. And I always talk to those guys. These are not bad guys. They're there. The shooter's going to get a couple dollars if you give him some tape, answer a couple questions. And if I were a politician and I saw some young guy just wanting to ask me who doesn't have a snarky way in, he's not being an asshole. Of course. Why? That's the name of the game. That's why Trump will talk to anybody, because he gets that.
Absolutely. I mean, I would be in a suit and tie looking preppy. I was not there to cause any drama. I would get the emails of the press secretaries ahead of time, and I would send my stats. And some of them would even say, oh, we'll meet you here. So and then they take one look at you and then they say, we're good. We're busy. And it was like, oh, does Mike Pence not want to be standing next to me on camera because I'm gay, because of the way I look? I have no clue. But I just remember being shut out of things. And it's funny now. That's why I'm so grateful and why I'm such a champion of new media, because it was 18 months before Trump joined TikTok, right? So it was pretty cold desert out here.
How was it? I mean, I've talked to a lot of gay conservatives. I feel like every gay conservative man is a friend of mine. I just feel like I know so many of them.
We understand you.
Well, I do. Well, as the guy who helps me with my costumes, because everybody knows I love my costume parties, as he said to Abby, behind every great woman is a strong gay man. I love that, and I think it's true. But anyway, was it weird? Can you speak to what it was like? How old are you? You're young.
I'm 27 now.
All right. So how was it growing up in that time frame as a gay man who leans conservative in Texas?
Well, it wasn't even so much conservative. I mean, I was bullied relentlessly. When I say I was a loser growing up, I was never invited to a party. I would be at home on the weekends with my mom. I live with my mom.
What?
And so,
how's that possible? Now you have such an effervescent personality.
I know. Well, it's funny now. I think people get me. But I think when kids are growing up, if you're a little different, they just don't know how to take you, right? They can't go throw the ball with you. They don't know, how to take you. And so I was just bullied constantly. I got the shit beat out of me. I had to have my front teeth redone. I had to get stitches. My car got vandalized. I was just bullied relentlessly. And I don't say, woe is me. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm tough as nails. But it's just interesting now, the past 2 years, to be in such a great place. People say all the time, you're too happy. I was told by someone in conservative media, you're too cutesy and happy all the time. It's annoying. I am so happy to be here and to be working and that anyone likes what I do and to have a voice in the discourse at all. And so I'm never going to apologize for being eager and happy and excited, because it's been a literal, long, hellish journey to get to the past 2 years. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Did you have a natural sunny disposition before the bullying?
Oh, I was always happy. I mean, I used to spike my hair, and I was into theater and music and all of that.
Pictures or it didn't happen. We'll lay them in after.
Oh, I have tons of pictures, but I always say I'm a recovering theater kid. But I was always happy and fun. And what's so crazy is even though the kids would treat me like shit, I'd get beat up on a Monday. I would come back to school on Tuesday and be like, can we help plan the spring fling dance? Can we do this? Aww. I was involved in community service. So I always tell kids, literally get back up and keep going. You cannot stop, right? And so it's why now I think a lot of these liberal journalists who are just, there's been a barrage of horrible hit pieces on me the last week, and even one yesterday in The Spectator, they were kind of coming for me. I think these journalists underestimate how comfortable I am in my own skin. I am very secure and very confident in exactly who I am. Nothing a liberal journalist can say is ever going to knock me off my game whatsoever.
Yeah. Honestly, and they have absolutely no power over you. So you can relate to what I was saying at the top of the show that I witnessed in these young girls coming out to the microphone, talented to the ears or working on it. it takes a lot of guts to do that, to stand in front of a microphone or on a stage in front of your peers and just let it go. Like, let's see if they love me or hate me.
Absolutely. I mean, I got up to sing in front of the school a million times. I was in every show. I was the star of the choir. I was telling your producer in March of 22, I auditioned for this show at Carnegie Hall with Vanessa Williams. It was going to be sort of a Stephen Sondheim retrospective and tribute. And I ended up getting cast in the show, so I got to work with her. The show was sold out at Carnegie Hall. I was about to vomit before going out on stage, but I'm so glad I did it. So I can send in pictures of that as well. But yeah, no, it takes guts to get up there.
Do we have a clip of you singing in said show? I want that too.
Yeah, I will find. I'll go through my phone and I'll find all of this and send it. But yeah, no, I think that's why now I'm not that nervous, especially the past few years getting to go on cable and go on shows. It's like, hello, I was in front of thousands of people about to vomit. This is fun. I can do this.
Yes.
But it does take guts. And I think it takes guts for young people to be authentic and stand in their truth, which sounds so Meghan Markle. I'm sounding so liberal and Meghan Markle right now, but it's just the truth, you know? And if you don't feel comfortable now, I always say the way you feel today, if you're watching this in your hometown, if you're feeling left out, if you don't fit in, it's hard to see the forest for the trees when you're like a teenager. The way you feel today is not how you're going to feel forever, okay? Your life is going to get exponentially better.
Yeah, I mean, you forget that this is one of the things I love about you, Link, is that I feel like you take the important messaging that we have so much in common on, and you bring it to a whole new generation. You resonate. I mean, I knew of you, and you'd been on the show, and you were a star. And I was a big fan, but
thank you.
A friend's teenager, one of my dear friends, I was talking to her teenager, and he was like, you know who your favorite guest is of mine? Link Lauren. And he listed all the many reasons why he loves you. And it really was at that point that I was like, I actually need to seriously consider Link because for this new thing that we were launching, because I really think you're the voice of like the next generation. You're going to be able to speak to these young people in a way that, you know, yours truly might not be able to, Tucker might not be able to, like, you've got something, and you've kind of been through things that they've been through more recently. They need somebody like you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for saying that. And I have a ton of dudes who follow me. Straight guys are always like, you're the only gay guy I like. And I'm like, well, thank you. So, I mean, my audience really runs the gamut. And I always say the only thing I'm beholden to is common sense. I've never taken a dollar from the RNC or Trump, no matter what these journalists say, have never taken a dollar from the DNC, not that they offered. I'm just beholden to common sense. And it just so happens right now, Trump and his administration are on the 80% of all of these 80-20 issues. And President Trump is our strongest defense and bulwark against the woke insanity on the left. So I am going to come out and speak up. I don't want another Laken Riley, Jocelyn Ngari situation. I don't want MS-13 and gang members running amok on the street like Abrego Garcia, right? I don't want men and women's sports. If that makes me some right-wing such and such, I don't give a rat's ass because I'm going to speak up for common sense. And there's a reason an overwhelming majority of the country agrees with me on these issues. You
and Callie Means discussed President Trump, who you both, he knows him a bit, and you've been following him for quite some time, and had a funny moment. I want to play that shot. It's number 4.
President Trump looks great. I mean, he looks younger than ever.
President Trump looks amazing. President Trump is aging in reverse.
He's losing weight. Bobby put him on a carnivore diet, apparently.
He's not on
That's the rumor.
President Trump is not on Ozempic.
Well, his medical report came out. Ozempic was not listed.
Yes.
I'm actually not. We're in the White House,
Yes.
and I'm saying this for real. His biomarkers, his cholesterol and blood sugar and all those levels is top 5% for an American his
man
age.
is a machine.
He's lost weight. So it's common sense solutions. President Trump's cut out some carbs. He's eating more whole food. I mean, there's a real revolution happening in this country.
That's A, charming, B, big news, and C, going to come as a crushing blow to the left.
Trump looks so good. Trump, I really think, is like Benjamin Button. He is aging in reverse. I also have this theory that these woke liberals, they look so gaunt and gray and emaciated and anemic. These liberals who have Trump derangement syndrome. Yes, like Vera Wang, they do not look healthy. And I know I'm the last person to talk about being pale because I'm white as Casper, but I will say these liberals literally are just, their cheeks are hollowing out. Well, that might be the, buccal fat removal. But no, these liberal TDS celebrities, They don't look good. They look gray. President Trump, he looks friendly and vibrant and avuncular, to use an SAT word. Everybody in the Trump administration is glowing and healthy. And on the left, it's not great. They need MAHA.
President Trump has definitely lost some weight. He's slimming down. And I'm glad to hear that Bobby Kennedy stepped in with a carnivore diet. That's something President Trump can get behind. I don't see him going vegan, but I can see him going like, maybe we can have him switching to like the Big Mac without the buns. Like that could be real progress, I think.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Not sure that would be Bobby approved. But that was great. And then you asked Callie about something very much in the news because of the controversy around his sister Casey, not knowing that this was about to hit. But you got into the pushing of trans on our children. And Callie and Casey are very close. I told the audience this yesterday. I've spoken to Casey directly. Casey is where I am on the children and the trans thing. She will not push puberty blockers. She doesn't believe in them for children. She doesn't believe in cross-sex hormones. And she doesn't believe in surgical procedures in the trans lane for minors because she's a normal person, okay? And neither does Callie. You and he discussed it a bit in SOT 3.
Kids transitioning, and I've talked about that a lot because people say, you're gay, you should support kids transitioning. I'm gay, not brain dead. I have common sense. Is there a medical lobby pushing kids to transition and take these drugs and these gender hormones?
Unrelenting.
Okay.
Unrelenting. So I think you have to understand that the blob of special interest looks for issues where you can call someone racist, homophobic,
sexist,
transphobe, sexist, what have you. They love those issues. And this child trans issue was a beautiful one. These institutions just lose their way. And at the core of this berating of the American people to support gender transition or else was a lot of corporate money because there are billions and billions of dollars. President Trump has just been, stop it. We're going to have common sense.
And he's called it demonic in the past, too. So this is all, by the way, so that for the listening audience, going to premiere on Link's premiere episode as part of the MK Media Network. Go subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts for free. It's called Spot On with Link Lauren, or you can go spotonwithlink.com, which will take you to all of Link's socials and the YouTube and all that. But what did you make of Callie and even the notion that, frankly, either Callie or Casey is pro the transing of children?
So first off, I'm incredibly grateful to the White House and their entire team for setting this up. I do not take it for granted being there. And I thank you guys for helping me get the videographer because, like I said, I barely know anyone in this business. So I was grateful to be there. I didn't know I was interviewing Callie until he showed up and was coming down the hall. And he said, hey, I got 10 minutes. Let's do an interview. And I said, great, because I'm in the sea of all these new people in a high stakes environment. I haven't slept. I'm nervous. So seeing a familiar face and someone you're friends with coming down the hall made me so happy. Aww. I love Callie. I know I could pick up the phone and call him and say, I need your advice on this and that health issue. And he would be there. I know the character of these people, and I can tell you with unequivocal certainty, they do not support the transing of kids whatsoever. They are with me on that. They're with you on that. They're on the 80% of this 80-20 issue in common sense. They do not support pumping kids through full of hormones, and we see that in the clip.
Here is the other thing. We talked about we began the hour with my daughter on the stage and her little schoolmates on stage. We talked a bit about your acting background. We didn't talk about your latest starring role. Here's a bit for people who missed Link, which I know none of you did, in the Blonde Origin world premiere, which happened 1 week ago today. Here he is. Watch.
I just spoke to a source in Connecticut that said Meghan's husband, Douglas Brunt, just took out a massive life insurance policy on her this morning, but I'm sure that is not suspicious whatsoever. These three women are proving once and for all there's nothing a woman can't do that a man can, as long as it's for a few minutes and they don't have to operate any heavy machinery.
What has this meant to you as someone who's covered space launches for, 20 minutes?
I am just overcome with emotion. I am incredibly proud of these three women for everything they went to in the lead up to the launch, for surviving zero gravity and making it back down to Earth safe and sound.
Link, you nailed it. You made that so much funnier. And then we talked about it last Friday. If you haven't seen Blonde Origin, everybody go to youtube.com/Megyn Kelly and it's still there. What was it like for you starring in your latest film?
I was sick as a dog. I looked terrible. And we had nothing on the screen. So Mark and I were just kind of going for it. I think your team, they were like, oh, Link's not in the zone today. But I think we got some good lines. I had some other jokes that were probably a little more off color that my boyfriend said, you can't do that. You can't say that. I said, I think Megyn would like it, but I'll play it safe till the show launches. But yeah, no, I'm grateful to be included. And I grew up watching the circus religious. Like 10 years ago, I would watch the circus and want to be a part of politics. So to be friends with Mark, with Mark Halperin. So to be friends with him and work with him was amazing.
You two were a great combo, and I can promise the audience you are not done with this amazing acting team. Yes, we're all world-class actors now. From Maureen and Sarah to Link and Mark, I think we are all on board for a part 2. The only question is, who will we be targeting next? We're taking your submissions. You can email me, Megyn@MegynKelly.com. We'll be right back. More with Link right after this quick break. As we go, please subscribe. Now's a great time while we go to break, and follow his show on podcast, YouTube, and social media. The show is called Spot On with Link. Spot On with Link. And we call it that for a very good reason. Tax day may have passed, but for millions of Americans, the real trouble is just beginning. If you missed the April 15th deadline or still owe back taxes, the IRS is ramping up enforcement, you should know. Every day you wait might make things worse. With over 5,000 new tax liens filed daily and tools like property seizures, bank levies, and wage garnishments, the IRS is applying pressure at levels we haven't seen in years. The good news? There is still time for Tax Network USA to help. Self-employed or a business owner, even if your books are a mess, they've got it covered. Tax Network USA specializes in cleaning up financial chaos and getting you back on track fast. Even after the deadline, it's not too late to regain control. Your consultation is completely free, and acting now could stop penalties, threatening letters, and surprise levies before they escalate. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Megyn. You may have missed April 15th, but you haven't run out of options. Let Tax Network USA help before the IRS makes the next move. Let's talk about the Pope for a minute, because we've learned a lot about our newly elected Pope since this time yesterday when the news broke. He was Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, and now he's Pope Leo XIV. And he's from Chicago. He's born in Chicago, as I was calling him yesterday online, the Pope, which is kind of fun, from Chicago, like the Bears. And then he was sent by Pope Francis over to Peru. I think it was Pope Francis' time, but the Pope at the time sent him over to Peru, where he spent a long time, and he actually became a dual citizen of America and Peru. And then he wasn't made a cardinal until 2023, but he's since then been the guy in charge of finding new bishops and elevating priests up to the bishop position. So obviously he had some friends inside the conclave, and it worked for him yesterday. Now, we had somebody from the Catholic channel join us, and he was saying almost no one was predicting that this would be the guy. And that really is true. If you look back at the articles leading up to this, he was not mentioned by virtually anybody except these two people. The first one that I want to show you is the man who conducted the christening of all 3 of my children, Father Jonathan Morris, who later left the priesthood, and now instead of calling him FJ, we have to call him FFJ, as in former Father Jonathan. But he says, my kids' christenings are still legit. They still count. But here he was 3 days before the conclave in Rome.
We're talking about papabili, the candidates to be the next pope. And today I would like to talk to you about 2 American names who are actually in the mix, which has not really been the case in recent conclaves. The first one, you might not know him. His name is Robert Prevost, Prevost. He's an Augustinian priest, so he's part of a religious order who was called by Pope Francis to Rome in just 2023 to be a head of a very powerful department of the Vatican in charge of naming bishops, or proposing to the Pope names of bishops throughout the world. But he's really an enigma to many, not only cardinals, but American cardinals. That's because although he's from Chicago, 69 years old, he spent most of his life outside of the United States as a missionary and then as a missionary bishop in Peru. Certainly he's in line with Pope Francis, or at least Pope Francis was convinced of that, because he called to him to take over a very important department. But he's also known as a pragmatist.
Okay, one more. Credit where it's due. Piers Morgan had Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, he's predicted so much accurately on his show a week ago, and here's Steve Bannon.
I do think one of the dark horses, and I think, unfortunately, he's one of the most progressive, is Cardinal Prevost. I don't think he's getting enough play. He is certainly on the short list. Prevost is one of the ones closest to Francis ideologically. He's also had tremendous experience in Latin America. And so he's one of the ones on the short list.
Steve Bannon is the bomb. I mean, it's one thing for FFJ to know it because that's his business. You know, he still knows the church so well. But right. Steve Bannon, he's got his finger on the pulse. Anyway, what do you make of it? Because there's been a bunch of reporting about this Pope he voted in Republican primaries in Illinois, and he is anti-transing of children and trans ideology. That seems clear from some of his tweets and remarks. He's, of course, against abortion. He doesn't believe in gay marriage. These are not surprising things for the Catholic Church. And he's pro-migrant, doesn't surprise me either. But he has had 5 tweets or retweets in the past couple of years critical of either J.D. Vance, Trump, or Trump's immigration policies in particular. So what do you make of it?
Well, I think he's allowed to retweet or tweet whatever he wants. You know, he's the Pope. He's going to be living over there. He's not involved in our politics. I can't wait to see a meeting with President Trump, J.D. Vance, and the new Pope, Prevost. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it correctly.
Just call him Leo.
Yeah, Leo. I love Leo. I think it's a fun name. And I loved FFJ. I thought he looked great, too. The green jacket, the full head of hair. It's like a Rogaine ad. Look good. He looked great. And he knew to do the angle up. You always got to angle up, never down. He looked great. So, I'm happy for new Pope Leo. But like I said, I don't think we should really be bothered by some tweets he did. I think, though, it does speak to someone's whole entire ethos, though, if they are pro mass migration, or if they're more staunch and tough on immigration. I think it does speak to a little bit of someone's character. But at the end of the day, the guy's from Chicago, a very blue city. So even if he's a Chicago Republican, he might not be where we are right now with the Trump administration. I
think there's not going to be a pope who's not pro mass migration.
Right.
That's
right.
It's Catholicism. I mean, that's Catholicism. They're very pro-migrant. You know, wash the poor, the feet of the poor and the hungry and those who need us. And, we're a bunch of bleeding hearts at bottom, unless if you're trans or gay, in which case, no. Sorry, Link. No, they love gays. They love gays and lesbians. They just don't want them to get married.
Well, I was just speaking to the things I was seeing on X. I'm not saying that's how I personally feel. I'm just saying on X, the criticism seemed to be the retweets about immigration and Trump and J.D. Vance. But like I said, he's welcome to say whatever he wants. He's the Pope, right? We're over here in the U.S. doing our own thing. I don't understand why people are so upset about his retweets, if that makes sense.
Yes. Well, I think I can speak to this because as a Catholic in America, Pope Francis, God rest him, was very progressive and kind of turned the church in a progressive direction and did some battle with America and our president for a while. And when it was Donald Trump, not when it was Joe Biden. And we didn't much like that. So it's great to see an American Pope. And I actually am open-minded to this Pope, notwithstanding those tweets. I really think even a conservative-leaning Pope could have sent out those tweets because, I'm sorry, the Catholic Church is very pro-immigration. It's not my favorite thing, but it's the truth. Right. So I don't think we know enough about him yet to know what kind of Pope he will be. Now, here's something fun, though. He's from Chicago, White Sox, not Cubs, from what I read. And his brother, John, he's got like a normal brother, John Prevost, living in Chicago still, who gave a presser yesterday to everybody who was knocking down his door. And listen to him talking about his brother Bob.
You said you spoke to him right before Conclave? Tell me what that conversation was like.
Really? First we do Wordle, because this is a regular thing, okay? Then we do Words with Friends. It's something to keep his mind off life in the real world. And then we talk about what's going on, and I said, well, do you have your red socks? doesn't go over well all the time. And then just that kind of stuff. And I said, well, are you ready for this? I said, did you watch the movie Conclave so you know how to behave? And he had just finished watching the movie Conclave. So he knew how to behave. So it's that kind of stuff.
Amazing. He just finished watching the movie. I'm pretty sure this Pope is not intersex, so we've done better than that ridiculous movie. But isn't that cool? It's like you never think of the Pope, it's just being like a regular guy. He grew up Bob, and that's his brother John.
Having friends, family, playing Wordle. I love it. And I love that the brother's out there doing interviews and pressers on the front lawn. It's very like Thomas Markle, Samantha Markle. It's like, we're going to go do press and interviews too. Like, our man made it, you guys. Our guy made it. We're going to go do... I'd be making the rounds if I were him, okay? So I don't blame him at all for being on the front lawn.
Think of the money he could make with just like baby pictures of the Pope, Yes, or like the silly toddler videos that we all shoot now of our kids. I wonder if he's got some of Bob.
Yes.
Now Pope Leo.
Calling.
I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that he's an American, so all of these references are going to be familiar to us. He's going to have some of the same habits as we do. I don't know. It's just kind of cool to think about because he's, we believe he gets elevated by the Holy Spirit. And so Bob, the Wordle lover, who watches the same TV shows we do, is now Pope and leader of 1.4 billion Catholics across the globe. Very cool stuff.
If Wordle were smart, the word of the day would be like conclave or Pope or something. If Wordle were smart, they would do that. Anyway.
Can it only be 5 letters? CONC.
Oh, is it only 5? No. I don't play that.
I never play Wordle either. I know, notwithstanding. My kids play it. Okay, while we're on the subject of religion, did you watch the Met Gala at all on Monday?
Megyn, do you think I watched the Met Gala? Absolutely. No, it's required viewing.
Okay. I didn't know if you would watch. I thought maybe highlights. I saw the highlights. Lisa, yes. Who I only know this woman from White Lotus, but she also sings and is apparently very popular in the K-pop world, decided to wear underwear to the Met Gala and to put Rosa Parks' face on her underwear. It seems very clear. And then there was backlash because she's a civil rights icon and she's kind of one of the untouchables in American, history. Like everybody's proud of Rosa Parks. Like it's just one of our icons who had absolutely no power and did this extraordinary thing. And so the worst people have ever said about Rosa Parks is it was orchestrated and it was planned. Who cares? Still, I mean, amazing. She had no power. She's at the lowest end of the totem pole in the power structure. And she did this extraordinary thing on the bus, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't really belong on anybody's vagina. That's just it shouldn't be controversial. So, and it should be known, K-pop or not. So now in the wake of the backlash, her rep has come out to say, that's not Rosa Parks. That is this artist who came up with her, or the designer who came up with her outfit. The designer's rep has come out to say, this designer put his neighbor's face on Lisa's underwear. That's his neighbor, Link. It's not Rosa. Well, now, look, we've done a scientific experiment. We have zoomed in. Sorry, folks. This is a very, very close up of Lisa's crotch. And there is Rosa on screen right. And I'm sorry, but it's the same person. Look where you can even see they did the exact part in the exact part of the head as we see on Rosa, but they're denying it, Link, because, you know why.
Well, maybe his neighbor was Rosa Parks. I have no clue. I mean, when Rosa went from the back of the bus to the front, she didn't know she was going to end up on this Asian lady snatch at the Met Gala. I mean, how terrible is that? What the hell is going on? And when it comes to crisis management and PR, let me tell you, you are losing when you are explaining that it's not Rosa Parks on your vagina at the Met Gala. That is when you're losing. If you're explaining, you are losing, people. Listen to me, okay?
It's a good point. Yeah. I don't believe the designer's rep one bit. I think it's Rosa Parks. The whole theme was black dandyism. And you know what you did, Lisa.
Yeah. I don't think Lisa did. She probably just put it on and was like, I don't know. I mean, I don't think Lisa even knew. She would just put the outfit on. Why would this K-pop lady know about Rosa Parks?
Because the designer was like, Lisa, guess who I put on your underwear? And I bet you she was too dumb to realize that might be controversial. That's my bet. Okay,
Exactly.
Sorry. Speaking of the Met Gala, there is other fallout. Rapper Doechii, no idea. It was very clear I don't follow music that closely because I never heard of Lisa outside of White Lotus. Okay, so now this is Doechii, Doechii. We know her on this show only as the weird lady who decided to put like a box around her as she walked from the hotel, the Mark Hotel, out like their little mini red carpet to get into her van to be taken over to the Met Gala. And she didn't want to be seen and she didn't want to be rained on. And she turned into a massive bully, screaming at her staff, "I need another umbrella." Here it is. Watch.
Oh my God! Oh no! Oh no!
Yes, I'm ready. Give me another. No, stop. Give me another umbrella now. Another one right there, and another one. I need another one.
Another umbrella.
Excuse me. I need four fucking umbrellas.
Two more umbrellas.
Do not let that one umbrella. I will embarrass you. We're putting umbrellas. I mean, you're supposed to wait. I don't know. Okay. Move these umbrellas. I don't want these people. See, I got it. Move the umbrella.
Oh my God.
Right now, your umbrella. Yes.
You're blocked. You're blocked.
Yes.
Oh.
I don't know what happened there at the end. Doechii's an angry person. I think we can safely conclude that. And now she's trying to play it down like something like, well, when you need an umbrella, you need I'm sorry, but that doesn't do anything to quell my reaction. I think most people's reaction at what a bitch she was to her staff. And it's like over an umbrella, right? Like it's not like, oh my God, turns out I have an enormous hole in the back of my dress that shows my entire ass. Like I would yell like that. I would. But you don't get me another umbrella now. Get me a fucking umbrella. This is not a nice person.
I'll also say the unveiling of the Pope was less dramatic than that. Like, who's in there? Who's going to come out? And then no one knows who the F you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, remember we used to have big stars, Madonna, Michael Jackson, all these huge stars. It's like, who's in there? Big reveal. It's Doechii. Who the fuck are you, Doechii? It's like, why do you need all this? It was a couple of drops of rain, walk out to the car, and they're going to take your picture 30 seconds later. I don't understand. They can't get your picture. You're at the Mark. You're going to the Met Gala. These are self-important, I think you called them as well, demonic celebrities. They want to traipse up and down a staircase in $30,000 gowns, and then they preach and proselytize to us how to live our lives. So, Doechii, this is not really anything to write home about.
This is what she,
maybe the hair
was so
couldn't get
scared
wet.
we might see. For the listening audience, it's weird little checkered shorts and a weird checkered top with like a bow tie that's like the pussy bow that used to be in style a couple years ago, and that's it. I'm like, that's okay, great. Some sort of a
She's
cape
got
as
the
well.
Foxy Cleopatra hair. I think that's maybe what couldn't get wet is the hair. I don't know, but we're giving her too much credit.
Like, well, let's be honest. One umbrella will work over Doechii the way it works over all of our hair. You don't need 20 umbrellas.
What is that moving mob amoeba of people in the lobby?
And by the way, half the stars came out of the Mark, and everybody posed and let the photogs have a shot the way you wanted them to. Like everybody's PR agent would love to have a shot by the photogs here and at the Met Gala. You get both. It's not going to be like, oh, we blew it because we already saw it at the Mark. I mean, she's just, this woman's an idiot. So I love to see the fallout from the people over there because they're bad people. Okay, there's more. We've got to get to my favorite story of the day, which is Hilaria Baldwin. Hilaria Link, she's got a new book out, okay? And she really wants us to get to know her better. It's called Manual Not Included. It came out this past Tuesday. The cover shows Alec Baldwin with tape over his mouth in a box surrounded by the kids. His daughter is holding the roll of tape. So she talks about, among other things, the beginning of their relationship. Let's take a listen to that soundbite because she also did the audiobook.
For the first 6 weeks that we dated, Alec just wanted to talk. He would shake my hand hello and goodbye. Sometimes these early conversations were intense. It wasn't purely about physical attraction. It was true respect. No one had ever wanted to get to know me in quite that way before. What's not funny is the cruelty from the tabloid media and online trolls who tried to diminish me, labeling me as a gold-digging younger woman, someone who doesn't deserve to be with him. I have given a lot of thought to why people want to label me as such. Here's my theory. Please bear with me. If you're a successful gold digger, you have one kid, spend a few years with your husband, then get out of the marriage and take all of his money. We have seen it modeled. I can tell you that 7 kids shouldn't be in the gold digging curriculum, and I would probably receive like a solid D- for this choice. Kids are expensive and a lot of hard work. Gold diggers want maximum money and minimal responsibility.
Do you accept that definition?
I mean, I'm over here taking notes. Wait, how do I be a gold digger? Hold on. I don't think any of the Baldwin brothers are probably worth dating these days. First off, manual not included. Terrible name for a book. I don't know if that's what came with her vibrator and her nightstand. Manual not included, but I don't know why she needed that. Also, she is kind of a gold digger. I mean, she's also insane and has multiple personalities. So for her to say she's not a gold digger, I mean, maybe you would have just met Alec Baldwin and fallen in love if he wasn't famous and wealthy at the time. But I'm sure that was part of the calculus. And I would respect these women a whole lot more if she would just admit it, say, you know what? It was Alec Baldwin. I was trying to be this yoga, Pilates influencer. I also love, and people go watch on YouTube if you're listening so you can see what we're talking about. He's smothered on the cover of the book. I think his mouth is taped and he's taped. This is really, I think if they go to divorce court, he has so much lined up to just show that she's a psycho woman. Why is he taped and trapped in like bondage on the cover of the book with all these kids? And it's because she's trapped him in this apartment with 1 million kids, dogs, nannies, and a camera crew, and she hates him. So maybe this is his penance for shooting that woman on the set of that movie. God is like punishing him, but he looks trapped.
These are Link's opinions, but they're well-founded in my opinion. I think
all
you're right about all of that.
I'm saying all this allegedly. Yes,
it's allegedly. It's your opinion based on the way she's behaved,
Right.
and I share your opinion. This is a very strange woman. And on the gold digging front, I think she's wrong. First of all, because yes, if she left after 1 kid, he'd have to pay her child support. That wouldn't necessarily keep her in the same style that she's become accustomed to as his full-time wife and the mother of 7 kids. And secondly, I actually don't know that it was all money-driven. I'm pretty sure it was fame-driven. Fame is a different form of gold. And I think she was extremely attracted to that. And I think that's ongoing. You can't, as soon as you divorce Alec, the tabloids will follow you around for a year just to see if you say anything about Alec, but they have no actual independent interest in Hilaria Baldwin. None. And she knows that. She's only interesting because she's his wife. And let's face it, he's one of the biggest stars in America. He is. By the way, my favorite Baldwin is now Billy Baldwin, still like Stephen, but it's Billy who came on the show last week on National Fentanyl Day. And unlike a lot of these other Hollywood stars, didn't turn up his nose at my audience, even though it has many conservatives, just because they're conservatives. Like so many assholes who are trying to like promote some health initiative will skip conservative media. Like they want conservatives to die. They don't care if their kids get sick. It's messed up. So hats off to Billy Baldwin for being here. Okay, so back to Hilaria. So I think she's a fame digger. It's a different kind of gold. That's my own personal belief on her. The best part of all this is she gets to the Spanish accent, the fake Spanish. She grew up in a Tony, Boston suburb. Her name is Hillary. It's not Hilaria, as she wants us to believe. It's Hillary. And she's as white as they come. She's not Spanish. And she was mocked mercilessly a few years ago during COVID for this clip that was on the Today Show where she pretended to forget how to say in English the word cucumber. She's American. She did not grow up in Spain. She's bilingual, but her native tongue is English. Remember this?
We have very few ingredients. We have tomatoes. We have, how do you say it in English? Cucumbers.
How do you say in English? How do you say in English? Okay, so now she's attempting to explain this problem as follows.
And then suddenly people were poking at me for how I sounded and how I code switched. It all got out of control. There was a coordinated mob after me. Another factor that made me very uncomfortable at the time is that I have ADHD and dyslexia, and these greatly impact my speech, my reading, my listening, my focus, my memory, and my self-confidence. I have a brain that is 1 part English, 1 part Spanish, 7 dollops of mom brain, a heavy pour of distraction when I get stuck or go off on tangents and forget what I'm saying while I'm saying it. At this point, I had not discussed any of this publicly. I just existed in a land where sometimes I spoke one language and sometimes I spoke another, And sometimes I mixed them and got mixed up, and I never talked about my processing differences. I just tried to be normal. Growing up being neurodivergent, I had to work harder in school than many of the people around me. I took speech therapy to enunciate better. The more I got treatment for the ADHD that I was trying to ignore, the better I got at separating the two languages and not getting distracted. I tried to improve myself in the ways the internet trolls had told me I was broken. And then I got to the point where I realized, this is not helping me. I am mixed up, but I am not bad or broken. And then Hilaria returned.
Oh my God. She's neurodivergent. It's her ADHD that made her not remember how to say cucumber in English, Link. You buying it?
Well, in college, my advisor said I needed a minor. So I thought, what's the easiest thing I can do? So I minored in psychology. So in none of my courses, not in the DSM manual or anything, none of my professors taught me that a side effect of ADHD and dyslexia is actually having fake accents and fake personalities. That was not ever in any of my curriculum. So Hilaria, I don't know what is going on with her. She's kooky. They're just trying to make money because I think they're probably broke, right? She's doing a book. She's doing a reality show. And I know I just keep coming back to the cover of the book, you guys. You have to go Google it. You've never seen a man more emasculated than he is on the cover of this book right now. I mean, his mouth is taped. He's wrapped up. She looks like she is totally in control running that household. And for her to say she's not a gold digger because she had, 10,000 kids instead of one, maybe she could have Ashley St. Clair over for a crash course, because Ashley St. Clair certainly did not learn that lesson. She should have sat there, shut her mouth, and pumped out those Tesla babies in that apartment, but she threw it all away for an interview and a photo shoot with John Levine at the New York Post. So I think Ashley St. Clair should skedaddle on over to Hilaria's apartment and get some notes from her.
Here's the other thing she says in the same part of the book where she's talking about she's neurodivergent, and that's why she forgets her English word for cucumber. I mean, first of all, just for not for nothing, but it's such an obvious lie, because there are multiple examples of Hilaria talking in a fake Spanish accent. There, she was in a fake Spanish accent and pretending to forget her English. But we've run these clips ad nauseum on the show of her, let me tell you something. When this baby needs its mama, she's I think she's from Weston, Massachusetts. She's from if it's not Weston, it's one identical, which is literally one of the nicest suburbs in the world. She went to a private girls' school. The parents have tons of money. She is as white as you or I are. And she was Hillary. Now I'm back to Hilaria. No, you are not Hilaria. That too is an affectation. So she writes in this passage, okay, growing up being neurodivergent, you heard some of this there. I had to work harder in school than many of the people around me. Now I know that it's ridiculous that anyone would feel outraged or amused because someone forgot a word. She says, but back then, and I think she's referencing the 2020 controversy over cucumber, I started to really unravel. Yeah, she was. I was confused. I felt lost. I missed my family. I couldn't eat. I got very thin. I started to question my sanity. Then she says, I wanted to be dead. And I got worse and worse and worse. I took speech therapy to enunciate better. The more I got treatment for the ADHD that I was trying to ignore, the better I got at separating the two languages and not getting as distracted. I tried to improve myself in all the ways, and that's when Hilaria returned. You heard the end of this. But she appears to be suggesting that she wanted to kill herself over the cucumber controversy, over the fact that she wanted to enunciate better. That's very strange because, as I say, there is a string of tape of her continuing to pretend she's Spanish. And there's a tape of Alec Baldwin on one of the late night shows saying, my wife, she's from Spain. And then he imitates her Spanish accent. You're like, these two have been lying about this weird fake origin story for years.
I mean, maybe she just forgot the word cucumber because she's not all that bright and all that smart, or maybe she's had 1,000 kids. She bumped her head on the headboard too many times and she's concussed. I don't know why she forgot the word cucumber, but nonetheless, Hilaria Baldwin, she's just such a spiritual, smart woman. Maybe she can broker the MAHA peace deal in this MAHA civil war right now. She's just such mother of the earth. But no, I have no respect for Hilaria Baldwin. I think she's crazy. It's really sad too because Alec Baldwin was this handsome, masculine, one of the last like masculine give zero Fs kind of guys, like punching paparazzi. I watched It's Complicated on a plane a few weeks ago. Alec Baldwin is so my type, but when you see him like this, emasculated and degraded, it's a no. It's a no.
I know. I agree. He could have a comeback. You know, he needs to lose 30 pounds and shave.
If he got his eyes done and shaved, come back. Come back.
Yeah, seriously. And like, and a divorce, obviously. Here she speaks to what happened with the death of Helena Hutchins, the cinematographer who Alec killed on set of the Rust movie in a mistake, where he says he didn't fire the gun, but the experts all say that gun wouldn't have fired if he hadn't pulled the trigger. But he wasn't trying to kill her. There's no dispute.
No.
It was a terrible tragedy and accident on the set. In any event, she died. And listen to this weird take on the aftermath of that. Listen, see if it jumps out at you as it did to us. SOT 25.
Have you ever ignored a call coming in from your husband? I did on October 21st, 2021. Actually, it was 2 calls. At that time, Marilu was my youngest and I was taking photos of her. The phone rang and I ignored it. I'm doing something right now, I thought. Then Alec called again, which he often would do when he had a break from filming. We had already spoken multiple times that day, and I was planning to send him the pictures right after and make a joke about how he was interrupting our photo session. He then texted me to call him right away, and all of a sudden, my heart and my stomach smashed together. Something must have happened. The realization that he wasn't ever going to be the same started to sink in. For the immediate future, from now on, I would need to take on the role of his protector. I could have left Alec. I could have taken our kids with me and abandoned him, but I didn't. I stood by him because it was the right thing to do. I saw and know the truth.
What?
At his lowest moment, she's going, I could have taken the kids and abandoned him. Well, why is that step one that you're jumping to? That doesn't even make sense. And I know that the publisher is like, part of the deal, you have to write about the Helena Hutchins situation. How could they not? But at the same time, can this woman's family have some peace? We understand in no world did Alec Baldwin mean to shoot this woman, right? This is a New York guy, probably doesn't know his way around guns all that well. So he didn't mean to shoot her, but can her family just have some peace? Do you have to now do this for press to sell the book, Hilaria?
Yeah, that's the thing. Who says, yes, he came under, all this public scrutiny. It was a media firestorm. I could have left him. I could have taken the children and walked. What? As if that's like one of the top options. Like when your spouse is in trouble, you're like, I can just peace out. Fuck him. I don't know, really, this is his problem, not mine. Really, who even thinks like that? Like this is like Doug writing a book about our life together. And then he gets to the chapter about NBC when I was all over the papers and saying terrible things about me. And like him being like, I could have left her right then. I could have taken our kids and walked. What? Wait a minute, honey. Huh?
This tells me that she probably met with lawyers and crisis management people at the time and was probably being advised from a PR standpoint, you could leave, do your own thing, you go solo, get a People magazine cover, you've left him behind, that's all drama. It makes me think there are probably a council of advisors in her ear giving her that as an option. The fact that she's even thinking about it, because I've been in the same relationship now for 3 years, I couldn't imagine if he's at his lowest or I'm at my lowest saying, peace out, I'm leaving. We don't have kids, but I'm leaving and moving the hell out of here. That would never happen. That's just so bizarre. If you're actually in a genuine relationship, not a fame relationship, that's not even a thought. It's very weird to
Correct. And it goes back to my original theory, because if she's like a Famedigger, it's crossed over to infamy for Alec Baldwin. So I might be out. Like the one thing I was in it for has waned and actually gone a different direction, which doesn't work for me. So I, under the implicit terms of our relationship, which is like, I'm young and vibrant and probably a nice partner in certain ways. And you are supposed to be the one who is famous and gets us a lot of positive attention. And you've broken your end of the bargain, which is why I can leave. Our contract's been violated. This is a breach by you, which releases me from all further obligations. That's really what I hear her saying there. Here she is on their reality show.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Yeah.
About Hilaria. I think she would have trouble finding another man, number one, with all the baggage from Alec, but I don't know a lot of single guys who want to date a woman with 8 children. You know what I'm saying? Like this woman who's been through the press and she's dragging 8 babies around that are like 6 months apart. I don't think she's going to have an easy time. She might as well just stay with Alec, honestly.
She doesn't need a new husband if she really is just in it for the money, because listen to what she said on their reality show, SOT 26.
After my first marriage, I said, let's have a prenup.
I want
She
to
wasn't
think
happy
about
about it.
No. First of all, I
it's
still
an
don't
awkward
understand
thing.
quite what it is awkward, but I don't actually quite understand what a prenup is, because you're like, after a certain number of kids, it's this, and I was like, you know what? I'll just sign it, which was probably very stupid of me back then. Now I would read it again, but like, I just said I would sign it. I don't really want to think about the end by the beginning, and then you're like, yeah, I don't want to do it.
Let's talk slower. You're speaking English in a Spanish cadence, which is always perilous for me. Slow down just a kiss. I can't understand.
These two don't like each other. And it seemed to be at the end, he released her from signing it. That's what I think I heard there. But in any event, I think she'll be okay at this point.
Yeah, if my boyfriend's downstairs, I'm not signing a prenup either. Yeah, for Hilaria, absolutely, this accent is bizarre. They hate each other. Hilaria reminds me of my friends when we go out for Mexican food at like Il Cantinero or something in New York. They'll have a few margaritas and suddenly they have like margarita-induced Spanish accent. They're like, margarita, cilantro, enchilada. It's like girls out for a bachelorette party having some margs. That's Hilaria. I think she kind of has a Spanish accent that comes in when she's drinking, or I don't know, she's in this mood. But I also think one thing we don't talk about enough, 10% of the population is nuts. 10% of the population has some major psychological issue. So she has fake accents, fake names, fake personalities. She's a baby-making machine. She could just be nuts.
I just want to close the segment and go to break with this. This is, it wasn't just cucumber. How you say cucumber in English? Here's just yet another of her. You tell me whether this sounds like a girl from the suburbs of Boston.
I want you guys to realize that we have 7 kids. And you
We have 7 kids.
To escort them to school and to be there when they come home is not good.
To school?
So on a human level,
it's not good.
You guys know I'm not going to say anything to you. You know that.
You know.
So please, leave my family in peace and let this all play out. Okay? So let my kids come home and you stay away from them. Because they ask me, Mommy, what are these people doing? And it's a very hard thing as a mom to try to explain. So please, go home. Because I'm not going to say anything and Alec is not going to say anything.
Go home. I'm not going to say anything, and Alec's not going to say anything. And don't bother my family, my baby. They ask me, Mommy, who does she think she's kidding? That's not neurodivergence. And you know what?
No.
Screw you, Hilaria, for trying to piggyback on people who actually do have neurodivergence and ADHD and blaming your weird, fake cosplaying as a Spaniard on them.
No, absolutely. I have tons of friends who are dyslexic, who have ADHD. None of them have fake accents. So I'm just racking my brain to think maybe she's a little off base here. She also said she's taking her kids to school. With that many kids in New York, just open your own school. You've got 10,000 children. And she reminds me of this French guy I dated back in 2021. We'd be at dinner and he'd be like, can I get how do you say Diet Coke? And I'm like, you just said it. You don't need to say, how do you say? It's like, can I get how do you say taxi cab? And I'm like, you just said taxi cab, you idiot. So that's Hilaria. She's like, how do you say cucumber? I'm like, you know the word, sweetheart. Anyway.
Yes, you fool no one. This is why it didn't work out between the two of you. It sounds like you upgraded too. All right,
I can't
stand by.
French,
Quick break.
No.
More with Link Lauren coming up. As we go to break, go ahead. Now's a good time to go subscribe to Spot On with Link Lauren. It launches on Monday. It'll be available on all platforms for podcasts, and you can check out Spot On with Link for all of his socials, YouTube, etc. Go ahead and subscribe and follow now. You were on top of your bills, and then inflation hit. Groceries, gas, everything shot up. Prices are up 26% from just a few years ago. 26%. Let me share a smarter, faster, far easier way out of debt. It's called Done with Debt, and they're not like other debt relief companies. They don't push loans or bankruptcy on you. Done with Debt, they have negotiators who go head-to-head with your credit card and loan companies. They have one goal: to drastically reduce or eliminate your debt altogether. And unlike others, Done with Debt can move lightning fast. Most clients see more money in their pocket month 1. But a word to the wise, hurry, because some of their brilliant debt erasing strategies are time sensitive. Do not make another bill payment until you speak with a Done with Debt strategist. It's free. Visit donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com, donewithdebt.com. Every dollar you spend is either supporting your values or working against them. In today's economy, where you spend your money matters. Patriot Mobile is leading the way as America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Switch today without sacrificing quality or service. You will get exceptional nationwide coverage because unlike most budget wireless providers, Patriot Mobile has access to all 3 major U.S. networks. You can even add 2 numbers on 2 networks on one phone, something the big guys cannot even do. Stay connected with flexible, unlimited data plans to fit your lifestyle. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you're supporting faith, family, and freedom. And switching is simple. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Patriot Mobile's 100% U.S.-based team will get you activated in moments. Right now, go to patriotmobile.com/Megyn or call 972-PATRIOT to get a free month of service with promo code Megyn. Make the switch, defend freedom with every call and text. patriotmobile.com/Megyn or call 972-PATRIOT. This just in, my daughter was a cow at the talent show. It was a cow costume. Now, I'm glad that's been clarified. She and her friend were prancing around with the cow outfits with the enormous pillows in the front of the outfits to be their big cow bellies. Nailed it. Okay. Someone who's also acting as a founder inspired this scene from the With Love, Megyn, Megyn. Maureen and I, before we did Blonde Origin, Link, we did an acting gig without you. And our debut movie was us mocking her. And here's a clip from that special production.
Where are you getting all these like mini brainstorms? I'm so impressed by this.
You have to be a founder to really,
I guess,
understand it fully. But maybe in the next wave of our friendship, I'll try to explain it to you. Hold that tight, please.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this, of course, didn't come out of the ether. I want to play for you the latest bit from her podcast, which is called Confessions of a Female Founder. Here she is.
When I think about big milestones for my own business with As Ever, I mean, Netflix coming on as my business partner, huge. Just having a global powerhouse that believed in me and the site selling out in the first 45 minutes of launch, every single piece that we had been working on, that told me that customers, people believed in me and this vision. That's all you really want as a founder.
I can't. You too are a founder now. Founder of the Spot On podcast with Link Lauren. Welcome to the club. It's very exclusive.
Thank you. Yeah, she sounded like me at the top of the show. Thank you, Megyn. Thank you so much. But yeah, no, with Meghan Markle, the only thing she found was a rich, famous husband. If that's what constitutes being a founder, then sure, Meghan Markle's a founder. She found a mansion in Montecito to live in. She found a sit-down interview with Oprah to bash and shank her in-laws and accuse them of racism. But founding, putting your name on some cheap jellies, jams, and dog biscuits, I don't know, sounds like a fall from grace for me. If I were Meghan Markle, here's what I would do. Not that I'm taking gold digging advice from Hilaria. I would have stayed over in the UK eating crumpets and scones. I would have pumped out a few more royal babies, and then the Queen would have passed on to greener pastures. Philip would have passed on, and then they could have stepped back from the royal family. But now you're living in California like a wannabe Kardashian, hawking jellies, jams, and dog biscuits. Good for you, girl. Good for you, Megyn. Good for you.
And I love how she's like, we sold out in 45 minutes. Meanwhile, not said is, what was the inventory like? Honestly,
right, that's
like,
what
for all I know,
too.
she had 20 jars of jam and 20 of her weird popcorn things. I have no idea. It's not necessarily a sign of success that you sold out in 45 minutes. I have no idea what your inventory was. Maureen actually bought one of the jams just for research, and it was in the most shoddy, pathetic little cardboard. It was truly something you'd find at like your kids' bake sale, whatever. They put something together just to try to hawk goods and raise money for a worthy cause. It was like this cardboard, cheap, as ever stenciled thing. It wasn't good. So in any event, there she is being self-promotional. And then Dan Woodman, when he was on the other day, he came out and he told us this, that one of her guests, another founder, because she just keeps on having on people who she's invested in, and that so they can tell everybody how great she is. She decides to take a shot at her for wearing Birkenstocks when she first met the Duchess, Link, which you don't do. Watch this.
And I just remember you kept shifting your feet in and out of your Birkenstocks. And I thought, oh my gosh, is this my first investment? By the way, I wear Birks at home. I think it's a really smart choice. There was no shame in your game. I was just struck by the fact that you were so comfortable.
Oh my God. I
That's
don't believe
shady.
one word of that. Yeah, she's definitely insulting her.
Meghan Markle is not in any position to give fashion advice. Every time she leaves the house, she looks like crap. Everything is misshapen. She doesn't have a steamer. She doesn't have an iron. She's basically Miss Wrinkled Pants. And then when she was in New York recently for that Time magazine event, she had these pants that were like a burlap potato sack. They were so flowy, if you jumped out of a plane, you would land safely on the ground. Meghan Markle looks terrible half the time. Nothing fits her. She's got these scrawny little legs and she wears billowing linen pants. Nothing fits her. So she's in the last position to give fashion advice whatsoever. Princess Catherine looks impeccable because guess what? She actually has a steamer and a tailor. I guess Meghan got $100 million from Netflix, couldn't afford a steamer.
Yeah, or just a stylist. That's all it would really take. Yes. Okay, we've got to move on because we've got to get to what's happening with Bill Belichick. There is a reporter who is claiming, his name is Pablo Torre, he used to be at ESPN, who is claiming that the girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, is no longer allowed in the UNC football building in the wake of all this controversy over whether she's like elder abusing him. Listen to his report.
Two sources at the University of North Carolina tell me that there has been a decision, it was made last week, by the higher-ups inside the athletic department that had hired Bill Belichick to be the highest-paid public employee, not just coach, in the state of North Carolina at $10 million a year. And that decision was that Jordan Hudson is no longer allowed in the football building.
Okay.
She is not allowed on the football field. Quote, don't think you'll be hearing much from Jordan moving forward.
Okay, but then UNC came out following his report and issued the following statement. While Jordan Hudson is not an employee here, she's welcome to the Carolina football facilities, the school said in a statement. Jordan will continue to manage all activities related to Coach Belichick's personal brand outside of his responsibilities for Carolina football and the university. So they say she's welcome. Then Pablo fires back saying, stand by, the University of North Carolina can choose to describe or change its position on Jordan Hudson's involvement however it wishes following the publication of our episode, because it was on his podcast. He said it. We requested comment and filed dozens of FOIA requests that were not satisfied, and we stand by the specific reporting in our episode, which came from the highest levels of the football program. So the drama continues. Link, Lauren, what do you make of it, and why, are you on Team Jordan?
Well, first off, I don't think she needs to come with him everywhere. This isn't bring your child to work day. You know what I'm saying? So I understand She doesn't need to be at practice. She doesn't need to be in the stadium or anything like that. She can stay at home. But also, can't a girl just become rich and famous anymore? Do we have to drag Jordan or Jordan, however the hell she spells it, through the mud all the time? Do people think she's dating Bill Belichick because he's this like hot, sexy guy who's great in bed? No, that's not why she's with him. I mean, his prowess was too much for her to fend off. No, we all know why she's with him. And the one thing I'll say is men do not cede land or surrender unless they want to, right? There are tons of older guys who let women come in and manage their house. You know, some of these older guys, they barely have anything in their fridge. Their wardrobe's outdated. They don't have a huge social life. So he's allowed her to come in. One piece of advice for Jordan Hudson I would give, she also should hire a stylist like Meghan Markle because she looks like a disaster every time she leaves the house. And Jordan, I'm saying this as someone who's on your team, sweetheart. The outfits, the oversized t-shirt with the thigh-high heels, like if you're going to have that role, you need to dress for the role you want. Dress for the job you want, Jordan Hudson.
Okay, well, I see your point. It may be the bargain they struck, and why are we immediately on his side? You know, it does look to me slightly like elder abuse, so I do have those questions. But if he's of sound mind, it's his choice. I still find her obnoxious, though. Okay, well, Michelle Obama.
Can I say one thing real quick? I understand people say there might be some undue influence here. We talked about that also. There might be some undue influence if he is having cognitive issues. So if that's the case, I will eat crow down the line. I promise.
But I don't know if he is. I mean, just looks like that from afar. And I don't know Bill Belichick. Okay, Michelle Obama. Listen to this.
And at this phase of my life, I'm in therapy right now because I'm transitioning. You know, I'm 60 years old. I finished a really hard thing in my life with my family intact. I'm an empty nester. My girls are in, you know, they've been launched. And now for the first time, as I've said before, every choice that I'm making is completely mine. I now don't have the excuse of, well, my kids need this or my husband needs that or the country needs that. So how do I think about this next phase?
Once again, speaking a reference to her time as First Lady negatively, and I'm transitioning. I mean, an interesting choice of words, given how the internet refers to her.
Well, the last time a famous person sat down in an interview and said, I'm transitioning, it was Bruce Jenner. So I did get nervous for a second. I see Michelle Obama. She says, I'm transitioning. Also, all the moms out there, drop a comment. When I went off to college, my mom said, I'm going to be so sad. I'm going to walk around the house crying. She did not do any of that. I think she was happy to have her life back. So Michelle Obama, maybe you do need therapy. I'm also sick of Michelle Obama, who's probably worth hundreds of millions of dollars. She has a mansion in Martha's Vineyard. I'm tired of her complaining that her life is so terrible. If she's sad, if she's depressed, everybody else has real issues. They're going to work. They might be sad and depressed, taking care of a sick relative. They don't need the former First Lady who got to fly around on our dime for 8 years complaining that her life is so terrible. I'm sick of it.
Tell it to your friend Oprah. Link Lauren, very excited for Monday. Everybody's got to check out his first episode of Spot On with Link Lauren. A pleasure, my friend. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much, Megyn. Thank you.
And all of you enjoy your weekend too. See you Monday.